Welcome to the What If It's Not Depression podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Achina Stein. Today, we are going to be talking about antioxidants and one in particular called carbon 60. Jessica MacNaughton is a trailblazer in health innovation, serving as the CEO and co-founder of C60 Power. Under her visionary leadership, C60 Power has become a leading advocate for the health enhancing properties of the Nobel Prize-winning molecule carbon 60. After experiencing significant personal health improvements from incorporating carbon 60 into her daily routine in 2017, Jessica embarked on a mission to share these benefits with the world. Her company specializes in crafting anti-aging products that combat inflammation, enhance mitochondrial health, fortify immune function, and boost overall energy for both humans and pets. With a diverse professional background spanning over 30 years, Jessica has held leadership roles in both global Fortune 500 companies and entrepreneurial startups. Her experience includes an 18-year tenure in commercial real estate, a field she left to pursue her passion for holistic wellness after a transformative health crisis. That's how it always happens, right, Jessica? Welcome to the
Absolutely.
podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Achina. Great to see you. I'm so
Great
honored
to
to be
see
here.
you too. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. I know you're a very busy person. And I really, I love to start talking about, like you talked about how this was transformative. I would love to hear the details because I don't think you ever told me your story. Maybe you did
Yeah,
a long, long time ago, but I'd
I'm happy to share. Absolutely happy to share. Because it definitely goes into the theme of what if it's not depression. So you mentioned a little bit about my background, but I was somebody working in corporate America, kind of work hard, play hard lifestyle, and really just burning the candle at both ends. And I went through an event where my dad tragically died unexpectedly. And at the exact same time, I was really kind of going through adrenal burnout and fatigue based on my lifestyle. So, having just been somebody who was always, working and playing hard in my 20s and 30s and not really taking great care or even having an awareness of what was going on with me hormonally, I basically hit a wall, and that's what was going on with me. And once I got hit with the tragic news of my dad dying, I just I kind of imploded. That's how I would describe it. Cellularly, I imploded. Emotionally, I imploded. Spiritually, I imploded. And I just couldn't do what I was doing anymore. I couldn't live the life that I had been living. And around this same time period, a friend of mine at the time introduced me to my now business partner, Ken Swartz, who's a biogeochemist, and that's a fancy way of saying scientist. And Ken had this, what I would describe as magical elixir that he had been using, and it was working for him. And he was like, I just think you should try this. And I didn't understand what it was. And he's explaining things to me in a very dense scientific manner. And quite frankly, it just went over my head. But it took about 6 months of kind of follow up and pestering. Hey, have you tried this thing? Have you tried this thing? And I was like, no, I haven't. It's in a greasy, oily bottle and I don't understand it and I don't know what you said. Finally, after about 6 months, he was just like, could you just please try it and just try it for a month and tell me what happens? And so I did. And I ended up adding it. It was in MCT coconut oil. It was carbon 60. And I started putting it in my coffee in the morning. And the truth of the matter is, it probably took a couple months for me to get in the habit of doing it every day, even though I would just leave it by my coffee pot. But within a few months, some things started to happen to me. And they were quite profound. At the time, I was living in Colorado and I was desperately allergic to most of the grasses and trees there. However, I was living in Colorado for the lifestyle play. I love to hike, bike, ski. I love to be outside all the time. So I would run around Achina with like a Kleenex on my nose like this all the time because I was so allergic to everything. And what I started to notice was I just wasn't using Kleenex. My nose wasn't running all the time. My eyes weren't itching and burning. And I was like, that's kind of weird. It was a subtle shift. It wasn't like an alarm went off in my head and I noticed, but it was like over a period of a few months, I just wasn't buying Kleenex. That was unusual. I had also had chronic debilitating PMS pain, the type where in my line of work, if I could afford a full day off of work once a month, I could just be in bed kind of curled up in a ball because my cramps would be so bad. And I usually didn't have the luxury of staying home from work. So I would just white knuckle it through my day and I would be very physically uncomfortable. And I just noticed that my periods started to come and go with ease and grace, and I was having virtually no discomfort. So that was a surprise. The next thing is that my hair started to grow. Throughout my 20s and 30s, I had a short, stacked, bobbed haircut because I could not get my hair to grow. And all of a sudden, my hair was growing past my shoulders and then beyond. And that this was within about 6 to 9 months of use, but that was like very, very profound to me because I have baby fine hair and it wouldn't grow. But I also didn't understand that I was having a hormone imbalance. Like I said, I wasn't in touch with what the stress was doing to my hormones, and as I was aging, getting closer to being in my 40s, what was actually happening with me internally. I had no awareness whatsoever. So those things happened, but the thing that happened first that was actually the most profound was that I would describe it as I started to have expanded bandwidth. Mentally, I could process things much faster than I ever could before. Emotionally, I felt like I had expanded bandwidth to deal with stress and problems and to navigate my way through life. It kind of felt like Neo in the Matrix, where he's just kind of like flowing. And it's like the days where you feel organized and on point and you're like, game on, like, let's go, life. I just had this new sense of, I guess, motivation, mental energy, and clarity where I could just like blast off. So these things happened to me within a short amount of time, really utilizing C60. And at the same time, I was dealing with, fatigue and burnout from a long, years of, corporate environmental stuff where everything from like corporate politics to just like all the stuff that you have to deal with in those environments, I was just kind of over it. And I felt like a big disconnect between who I was personally, like at the soul level, and how I was showing up in the world in terms of how I made my money. And Ken and our worlds kind of collided in the sense that he had this thing, but had no background in marketing or business operations and didn't know like how do we bring this to the world? And so it was just kind of like one of those deals where right time, right place, we decided to move forward on this initiative to share C60 broadly with the world. So that being said, that's a little bit about my background, and then I'll kind of it started in 2017. By 2018, we were off to the races, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about C60. But that's a little bit about me and kind of what happened and why I'm here today, is that I had, kind of corporate mainstream, climb the ladder, I bought into all the things. I'm was born in 1976, so I'm Gen X. And, I believed in like, oh, you can do all and have all and be all. And today I think that that's an absolute lie. I don't think that that's true, but I'm really passionate about helping people take back control over their health because we know today that 76% of Americans have some sort of chronic disease, and we don't understand our cellular health. I didn't understand my cellular health, and that's really like the foundational place that we have to start at to start building up our ability to be resilient and to get through living in a highly toxic, chronically toxic environment that we do live in today.
I agree. I totally agree with you with everything that you've said, and your experience with C60 is very similar to mine. I mean, you obviously introduced it to me, and at first I was like, yeah, it's just like everything else. How many
Yeah.
supplements am I going to take? And I already take a bunch of supplements, but you try it for a period of time and it drops off because you don't really notice a difference. And for me, I noticed I have had for years very severe eczema, and even though I've done the functional medicine approach, and it's improved quite a bit. It wasn't until I started using the C60 that it cleared up, I would say 99%. I still have like a little behind my ear, but yeah, it's really made a huge difference for me, but not just the eczema. My skin, people are surprised that they're, when I tell them how old I am, that I'm almost 62. I play ultimate frisbee on a national level, and my co-players, the players on my team who've known me and how I've played in the last 15 years, it's like, Achina, everybody else is getting older and getting worse in their play. You're the only one I see that's playing better.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I'm not the best player. I'm playing with national level players. I just happen to be there at the right time. And because of the age that I am, people are my age don't play ultimate frisbee. So it's really a drop off of all these other players who are been playing since high school or college, and I didn't start playing until the age of 41. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. That I feel like the C60 is what has improved my healing in my joints, my recovery. And I just look younger. People are surprised that I'm almost 62 and that I look 45. They're in shock. And so what do you do? What are you using? Well, C60 and red light therapy. That's really the only thing that I do that's other than just foundational supplements like vitamins and stuff. But to me, it was the game changer for my skin. And I'm thinking it's definitely part of what I do in order to improve my overall performance in playing. So yeah, I can't say for sure because obviously I'm taking all sorts of other things. And so I haven't, it hasn't been something that I really promoted. And because I do have a hard time explaining how it works, why it works. And so therefore I don't really even introduce it. You could ask all my patients. I never talk about C60. I never do. And so I felt like the best way to really introduce it and give people a choice for them to add it. I don't like to sell things, but just to inform people and let them make choices about whether or not it is something that it's right for them or they want to try and see. But I think it's I want to do my due diligence and make sure that people understand how it works, why it works.
Let me give a little bit of background and history and why you haven't heard about it, okay? So carbon 60 is a molecule of carbon. It looks like a tiny cage-like soccer ball. And it was theorized in the 1970s by a futurist that you might be familiar with his name, Buckminster Fuller. He's the guy that was, credited with creating the geodesic domes. And so in the mid 80s, a group of scientists out of Rice University, they were trying to solve a mathematical question that they had about the stars, quite frankly. And they accidentally discovered C60 in the outer bands of large red stars. So C60 has its origins in outer space, which is pretty wild. But it occurs naturally here on the planet, and it occurs in places where meteor strikes have hit. It also occurs, like when you light a candle, there's a little flick of, a little flick that happens right then. A little bit of C60 is created as well. But what it does is it works at the cellular level to lift the oxidative burden. Now, you might say to me, what does that even mean? Okay, so we're gonna just go to really basic science here, okay? So inside every cell, you guys probably remember this from 8th grade science class. Inside the cells, there's another miniature cell. It's called the mitochondria. And you might remember the language around, it's the ATP, it's the powerhouse of the cell. The mitochondria is where the energy is built. So what C60 does is inside our cells, the cells get filled up with oxidative stress and free radicals, which are essentially pesky molecules that contribute to aging. You can think about it like your body rusting, essentially, okay? So what C60 does, it's so small, it goes into the cells and it neutralizes that rust, the oxidative stress and the free radicals, and it turns it back into a water byproduct and it flushes it out. Now, the cool thing about C60 is that it can reset itself. It does this again and again and again, and it doesn't negatively interact with any other vitamins, minerals, supplements, medications that you might be taking. That's a really cool, unique characteristic and feature of C60 because, as you know, Achina, if you take too much vitamin E, you can die. If you take too much vitamin C, you're probably going to get diarrhea, okay? That doesn't happen with C60. So these scientists, 40 years ago, nearly, by the time this is out, it'll be their 40-year anniversary of the discovery of C60, which is really cool. They discovered it, and then in the mid-1990s, they won a Nobel Prize in chemistry for their discovery. And the reason was, behind this Nobel Prize, why it was so exciting, was that they originally were trying to figure out at what level would C60 be toxic. And they thought originally that there might be some industrial applications for C60. They thought maybe we can put it in solar panels and it'll make things work better. But if we're going to do that, we have to see if humans are going to touch it, what will happen to them if they touch it. Well, they used some lab animals, which are Wistar rats. These are kind of wimpy rats. They're genetically modified to have short lifespans because they're just test animals. And what they found was they gave these rats insane doses of C60, insane. And what they found out was that no level was C60 toxic. And in fact, what it did for the rats that got the C60, it doubled their lifespan. And it did that by eliminating these naturally age-related tumors and cancers that these rats would get. They actually ended up having to sacrifice the rats, like kill them early because they just wouldn't die, and they wanted to publish the study. So it was kind of mind-blowing. They also did another study with these rats where they gave, one set of rats C60 and another set of rats didn't get C60, and they blasted the rats with ridiculous levels of radiation. The C60 rats lived. So that was pretty profound. So anyway, these scientists won the Nobel Prize in the mid-90s for their discovery. Now, fast forward some years into the future, the reason why we exist today was Ken, as I mentioned, was a biogeochemist, and he was quite upset about what had happened with Fukushima, the radiation dumping into the Pacific Ocean. And he's a big person who's interested in access to clean food, clean water, and he was quite disturbed about what was happening on the Pacific coast, specifically with radiation exposure to the fish and, cows and animals and things like that, and vegetation by having radiation, byproducts along the Pacific coast. So he set out to do some experimentation to prove a more efficient form of nuclear fusion, basically cleaner nuclear energy. And he had a theory about something called Moxie fusion, which he needed to protect himself from radiation to prove this out. And that's why he had heard about C60. He had heard about these animal studies, and he wanted to do this experimentation to prove this math that he was trying to prove. But he needed to protect himself from radiation. So he got his hands on some. He started experimenting with it in different types of oils, healthy carrier oils. C60 has to be fully dissolved in a carrier oil. And so he used MCT coconut oil, and we use organic MCT coconut oil. And he started consuming that during this experimentation. The experiment was a success. He proved out what he wanted to prove. But what happened during his experience was within about 7 to 8 months, his dry macular degeneration was no longer visible. He went to his optometrist and it was just gone. So why did that happen? Well, C60 is working at the cellular level to lift that oxidative burden. Like I said, it is basically neutralizing that oxidative stress, and it's turning it back into water byproduct. So you can think about it in a couple ways. Inside the cell, you could think about it as a sweeper or maybe like a tidal wave of cleansing that occurs to get basically the junk out of your cell. And then your body can support itself and heal itself naturally, because our bodies are miraculous and they're designed for healing and they're designed to regenerate, provided they have the nutrients and the support in the environment to do that. Now, Ken had another associate on his team who was an engineer, and he had type 2 diabetes at the time. But he was really worried about his health. He was at risk of going blind because he had wet macular degeneration and he actually had lesions on the back of his eyes. And this individual used this preparation of C60 for about a year and a half, also changed his diet, also started walking every day and exercising doing all the healthy lifestyle choices that I know you promote. He started doing all of those things and measuring all of his actions. Within a year and a half, he went back to his optometrist and those lesions were no longer visible. And today he doesn't have that diagnosis anymore. Now, that all being said, I want to be very clear. C60 is not a cure and it's not a drug. It's not going to mitigate, prevent, or diagnose any disease. And that's really a thing that I want to say. But what it's going to do is it's going to help at the cellular level with the neutralization of the oxidative stress. It's going to help promote a healthy inflammatory response. So we're all dealing with chronic inflammation. All of us are. Because it's just, we live in America and we're in a toxic environment. Now, our bodies produce antioxidants naturally. Antioxidants are little molecules, helpers, that help address this oxidative stress and these free radicals. And your body creates them naturally. But somewhere around the age of 30, the production of those antioxidants start to go down. And you've probably heard that word before. People are like, blueberries, they're high in antioxidants. I can drink red wine because there's resveratrol in it and there's great antioxidants in that, right? So antioxidants exist in a lot of things, fruits and vegetables, and it's great to consume them that way. But the question is whether or not you're getting enough, okay? And C60 has been characterized as the most powerful antioxidant ever known, hundreds of times more powerful than vitamin C. And again, I want to go back to the unique characteristics of it that I mentioned, which is its ability to reset itself again and again and not being toxic at any level. So you can't overdose on it. So that's like the amazing part about it. And the thing that I want to mention to you, Achina, is like, why would it work for you? Why is your skin so beautiful? Why do you have this athletic performance that is essentially unheard of at age 62? Why are you able to compete like you're 35 when you're 62? It's because you have cellular resiliency. So C60 is such a game changer, and it's a secret because it's natural and it works, and you can't patent it because it's naturally occurring. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. So it goes exactly to where it needs to go. And it starts addressing the cellular healing, essentially, is what it's doing. It's cleaning up the garbage, it's neutralizing that junk, and it's turning down the speed at which you're aging. C60, okay, so there are 4 really important molecules that our body needs when we're aging. Glutathione is a master, is one of the top ones that you need because it is so regenerative for your body. The other one is CoQ10. There's also SOD and catalase, okay? And these are also things that our body produces naturally, but as we age, and especially over the age of 40, they start to go down.
Right.
So you can supplement for glutathione. I'm sure you know a few companies that are wonderful glutathione supplement manufacturers. Same with CoQ10. I'm sure you probably have it in your back pocket. What about C60 versus glutathione? Well, they're complementary. If your body is being, if you have some C60 in your body and your body is able to actually now focus on the production of glutathione and CoQ10 and or you're supplementing for it, you have this backbone of support on these two things that you really can't supplement for. So C60 is supportive in the production of glutathione. It's also activating pregnenolone, that precursor molecule to all those hormones. So as your hormones are starting to go down over the age of 40, C60 is going to help give a little bit of a bolstering. It's not replacing anything, but it's a light bolstering. It's a subtle lift. So your estrogen can go up. If your testosterone can go up. So you're going to see a nice subtle lift.
Yeah. So it sounds like that you are clearing the space so that your mitochondria can function more efficiently.
Yes. I mean, it's like cleaning the bedroom of your mitochondria, essentially. When you have a clean room, you can dance in it, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate the explanation and comparing it to the other types of antioxidants. But there's other ways to get antioxidants, but you're right, it's just impossible, especially when you're in a chronic sick state for years and years, and with so many complexities, it's hard to get above that. So starting in the bedroom of your mitochondria is a really good place, because sometimes you really have to get into that cellular level that then kind of takes off, and getting all the cells working together, right? And
Yep.
then all those cells make up an organelle, and those organelles make up the organs, and it just becomes. So when you start at that level, I think it really does make a difference. And it also explains why maybe things take a long time, because it's like almost like if you looked at a neighborhood, it's going into each and every house to clean up those houses, and it just takes time, as a simple analogy, of what might be going on. So just trying to give people an idea of how this kind of works, and why you may not notice an effect right away.
Well, here's the good news about it. Most people do within about 30 days of daily use, they notice an increase in energy and mental clarity. Now, I mentioned my personal story, and I mentioned Ken's personal story, and I mentioned his research associate's story.
Mhm.
Those are all issues related to chronic inflammation and how they were manifesting in our bodies uniquely. When you deal with that chronic inflammation and you give your body the cellular support that it needs, it has time to heal. But to your point, it takes time. It took years for you to have all those traumatic events in your life. It took years for all the things in your life circumstances to occur. It's going to take time for the healing to occur. But the thing that I think is really cool about C60 and the work that you do, Achina, is the fact that, especially over the last 5 years, with everything that we've gone down with the lockdowns and everything, mental health issues are like off the charts, insane, problematic. And collectively, we have more trauma, in my opinion, than we probably ever have had in the history of mankind. And what we know about people with trauma is that they have a 10x increase of oxidative stress. So for people who are dealing with trauma, who are working to overcome mental health issues, for people who want to work through this stuff, C60 provides a mechanism to support the releasing of that oxidative stress, which is that stored trauma memory in the physical body. So you can do all of the somatic therapy and functional medicine nutrition support that you want, but you also have to address the cellular memory that exists. And that's where C60 comes in as basically like a Swiss Army knife in your arsenal of the tools that you use that are supportive and healthy, because it's going to neutralize it cellularly and help you get rid of that so you can transform your body from the cellular level. The other thing is about the joints, feeling good, athletic performance, and skin health. There's been a tremendous amount of human and animal studies that have been done. And if you guys want to dive into the science, if you want to geek out, for a really amazing resource tool, it's whatisc60.org. Again, whatisc60.org. You can go there and see research, studies, animal and human, that have been done, and learn all about it. And if you want to just dive specifically into human studies, you can go to shopc60.com/research, and learn about human studies. But as it relates to anti-aging, they did a study with humans in Japan where they applied C60 to the skin topically, and it's been proven to lessen the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It also helps promote healing of the skin, and it also helps to tamp down the histamine response. So if you're having a histamine response and the eczema is itchy, C60 is going to help tamp that down. It's working at the cellular level, though, to do that, and it's going to promote the healing and the regeneration of those skin cells. And that's the really cool thing. So when you take it and you're on this wellness journey, it's wildly supportive for gut health. And we know that the foundation of our immune system starts in our gut. So for that, we'd recommend the avocado oil. It's organic, extra virgin avocado oil, and it's really easy to digest. For people that are athletes like yourself, a lot of those folks love MCT coconut oil because they get the quick ketones and support from the MCT. It's great in coffee, tea, smoothies. And for people that love intermittent fasting and like a Mediterranean lifestyle, they really appreciate the C60 in the organic extra virgin olive oil.
Great, great. I'm glad you went over that. That was going to be my next question about how you can take it. I use a cream. I was using the MCT oil and the avocado oil orally, and I got away from them. I'm actually going to go back to doing that. But I definitely use the cream and the oil on the face. That's all I put on my face besides a little lipstick and eye mascara and eyeliner, right?
This
Yeah.
is Achina's favorite. It's a C60 Youth Renewal Eye Cream, and it's really cool. It's made with organic shea butter, C60, amazing botanicals that really focus on addressing the delicate skin around our eyes, but it also has copper peptides. And then she loves the C60 Anti-Gravity Serum, which is intended to support the youthful glow and look of the skin on your face and neck. So, and then C6, Achina also likes the roller ball that we have. This is great for eczema on travel because you can apply it directly onto any trouble areas of skin. And this is super nourishing, super healing, and easy to travel with. But yeah, it's very simple. C60 is just a spoonful a day as part of your morning routine. And for people that like to travel and they want to kind of combat some of the radiation exposure on airplanes, from cell phones, from laptops, we have created C60 gummies. They're made with whole coconut oil and 99% pure C60.
Really
They're
good
delicious.
too.
Tart cherry flavor, and they come in sugar or sugar-free, made with allulose and monk fruit. And those are wonderful to travel with. And also for athletes, they can stick them in your shorts or in your sports bra in the middle of a game. And if you're getting an energy crash and need a little boost, they're good to finish out the game, or 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you want to power through the rest of your day.
Right, right. I completely forgot about those chewables. Yeah, they're really tasty, actually. They're a bit addictive too. I could eat 3 or 4 of them at a time. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you for your expertise, Jessica. I think we did a full circle about C60. Anything and everything you ever wanted to know about C60 is available to you now in this podcast. So I appreciate your time. I do want to let people know where you are located if they want to know more about you and C60. If you can just mention your website and I think you have an Instagram and Facebook account, right?
So yeah, the website is shopc60.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the company's brand is C60 Power, so you can find us on Instagram there. And then our YouTube, our original name was C60 Purple Power. So our YouTube channel is still attached to our original name, so you can just search for C60 Purple Power. But if you guys want to geek out on the science, we have more than 600 videos. A lot of them are FAQ videos where we are answering customers' questions about, can C60 help with this? Can it help with that? We dive into the science about it. There's also plenty of personal stories. People are sharing their experiences with it. So you don't have to take my word for it. Achina, before we go, I would just offer this to your customers. Like with anything in life, please do your research. There's varying degrees of people that are and companies that are in the space. And I'd like to just offer that if you're going to take C60 that you do your research. There's some things that are important. Making sure you have 99.99% pure sublimated C60 is critical. A lot of manufacturers manufacture it with a known carcinogen called methylbenzene toluene, and then they bake it off. And if you're going to take a wellness product, you might as well have the very best available. You also want to make sure that your C60 is made with healthy organic oils. You don't need to be taking seed oils. You need healthy organic oils if you want to fight inflammation. And the last thing I would say is make sure that the group third-party tests. You should be able to see on all of our packaging manufacturing, you can get a QR code and you can go exactly to the test for your particular lot so you can see the safety, the purity, the bioavailability, and make sure that the company stands by what they're offering and that you know who's behind the company. Because not unlike what happened with the CBD space when people figured out that CBD can be supportive to people with epilepsy and seizures, there was kind of like a rush into that space. You could buy it at the gas station now, and there are varying degrees of quality. And when it comes to your health, quality really does matter.
Right, absolutely, 100%. Thank you for that. Yes, and if people are interested in ordering it, there'll be in the show notes. There'll be a link with a coupon code for, I think it's 10% discount for those who are interested in ordering it. Right, great. Well, let's wrap up. Jessica, thanks again for your time. I really wish you well, and I hope to see you in person in the future.
Thanks, Achina. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.